Good morning, I'm Harley Schlanger from the LaRouche Organization with your daily video update for September 13th, 2024. That's right, it's Friday the 13th. I hope you're having good luck, but I certainly wish bad luck to the masters of the British Empire who are sending over their puppet, Keir Starmer, to meet with Biden today. It's not clear yet whether Biden is going to be aware of who he's meeting with or what the topic is. But the leaks are that they've already decided to give a go-ahead to Ukraine to use long-range missiles to shoot deep into Russian territory. Now, this was an agreement that supposedly was hammered out by Blinken and his counterpart in the British cabinet. Blinken has been in London. He's been doing meetings. Next week is US-UK consultation week. So there's a whole move by the British to give the U.S. as Thatcher once said, to stiffen the spine of the U.S. to do what the British know is necessary. And in this case, that's take on Russia and defeat Russia in a war. Now, that's insane. It's crazy. That doesn't mean they're not going to try it. And so we'll see what happens when Starmer and Biden meet today in the White House. We're going to have a lot of work to do, though, with the International Peace Coalition to make sure that the policies of the oligarchy are defeated. That is the war policy. Now, it's clear that the whole line of the administration, according to the leaks, is that it's okay for Ukraine to use other countries' missiles, but not the U.S. missiles. That's a complete sophistical trick, trying to get out of responsibility. If you give Zelensky the go-ahead, he's going to do it. And that's the problem. In the same way, if you don't stop Netanyahu, he's going to keep killing. And the U.S. right now is the key to preserving peace. And unfortunately, with Biden as the president, with the hoopla building up around Harris to replace him, it looks as though the United States is moving aggressively on the wrong side of history. Now, Putin and Lavrov, the foreign minister, have both said that if these longer-range missiles are used to target Russia, this will be a war between NATO and Russia. And if that happens, we're going to need a lot of good luck to stay alive. But this is what the Brits have pushed from day one, to use missiles to target Russia, to force the Russians to back off. This was the idea of the Crimea missile crisis and so on, to force Putin to back down. So let's see what comes out of this. But we have work to do with the International Peace Coalition. There are rallies coming up over the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and an opportunity to build a show of force, to mobilize, to defeat the oligarchy, and to bring the population out of their sleepwalk into really thinking and mobilizing. Now, it's Friday, so there are a couple of questions that I'll take. Actually, there were about 3 or 4 people who asked me what I thought of the debate. Well, I just wrote an article about it, and I'll be very straightforward. This is an example of the corruption of the American people, the American political system, that you could have a so-called debate in which everyone's complaining afterwards about the moderators, but the people in the debate could have done something about it. Now, of course, Harris, we didn't expect to. Harris is there to play a game. I'm sure she had psychological analysis of Trump, what his weaknesses are, how to poke him, and so on. So she did what she was going to do, which is not answer any serious questions. The first question to her, are people better off today than they were 4 years ago? She wouldn't answer it, because the answer is no, they're worse off. Why was she not pressed on her support and Biden's support for war that could become nuclear war? Why did the moderators let that slip by? Why did they allow her, when they asked about these questions, to just go on a rant against Trump? Now, on the other side of this, why was Trump not more aggressive? Look, we just had one of the astounding developments was Dick Cheney endorsing Harris. Now, remember Trump in 2016, how he decimated the Bush machine and then the Clinton machine? Why would he not bring up the endorsement of Harris by Cheney when every American who's older than 30 knows that it was Dick Cheney working with the neocons, the Project for a New American Century, who were responsible for the Iraq War, based on lies, that was probably responsible for the intelligence breakdown that led to 9/11, who was responsible for torture, for other wars. Why would Trump not bring up the fact that Dick Cheney and Liz Cheney had just endorsed his opponent? So there was something missing there in what Trump was thinking about, how he approached it. I'm not sure why, but I think the fact that he pulled his punches till the very end. At the very end, he finally hit his stride when he asked her, you say you're going to do all these things, Kamala. Well, what have you done for the last 3.5 years? And that was a useful point. But that should have been up front, along with the Biden administration policy of provoking nuclear World War III. And that was missed. And I think it's just important to note that the media is playing a role in all this, but what do you expect? Why would you complain about the media? You have to go over their heads, which has been done by people before. It's been done by Trump before. And you basically show that the media is part of the fraud of the oligarchy. And that would have been very easy to do. So it was a lost opportunity. I don't know whether there should be another debate. I think what has to happen is that the issues have to be laid out clearly. We're headed toward World War III, possibly a nuclear war. The question now is, will the people insist that our leaders pull us back from this crisis? And that requires everyone's involvement. And today at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, we'll have another one of the Zoom calls from the International Peace Coalition. I'll put the link to that in the description section of this update. And if you want to, you should join it, get other people to join it, and get active. Because the key is, don't wait for a politician. Don't wait for an official. Become a leader. And every single human being has that potential, especially when you recognize what we're up against. Now, the second question I have is about the upcoming BRICS meeting in Kazan in Russia. The question is, what do you think is going to happen? Well, I don't know. There have been a whole series of meetings of various groupings within the BRICS. There was a BRICS security conference underway in Russia. There was the BRICS New Development Bank that met, that talked about increasing the credit capability. Basically, what I expect is that the BRICS will continue to do what they're doing, which is systematically build an alternative to a collapsing global system. Now, the reason they needed a security conference is that if you're going to build an alternative to the present empire, you'd better make sure you can protect yourself. Because if we know anything, we know from Perkins' book, Economic Hitmen, that the oligarchy will kill, they will destroy, they'll wreck infrastructure, they'll do whatever they have to do to prevent nations from breaking from the existing order. So the BRICS are pretty well aware of that. Look, why do you think Russia's under attack? Why do you think there are threats against China, threats against Iran? Why do we have this war underway? It's not even a war, really, this genocide underway in Gaza. This is the way the oligarchy deals with what they see as problems. So don't be surprised if there's more wars, if there are assassinations, if there are color revolutions. The most important thing to realize is it's coming from desperation. The oligarchy is stuck with a debt crisis they cannot control. They're fearful of the mobilization of the population against their tyrannical control. And they see this especially in the nations of the global south, where leaders are saying, we're sovereign, we're not going to bow down to you anymore. Now, shouldn't we recognize in that something that we as Americans and as Europeans once believed in? Wasn't America an anti-colonial nation once? Weren't there fights throughout European countries against the oligarchy? Of course there were. So why is it that we're so complacent today that we'll tolerate an oligarchy that includes the Nancy Pelosi's and the Dick Cheneys working on behalf of the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, the Schroders, and others? Why did we become so complacent? Well, corruption, greed, entertainment society, brainwashing, all of these things. But it comes back to the central point. We're facing a moment in history where civilization could be destroyed because of the foolishness of corrupt little people like Chancellor Schultz and Joe Biden, who submit themselves to function as enforcers for an oligarchy which has no one it considers important except itself. And we need to change that. That's what a republic is about, where people act in their own self-interest and the interest of the nation. And I say their own self-interest, the self-interest of an average person is not that a billionaire become a billionaire, but that everyone have an opportunity to develop, to grow, and to make a decent living and to contribute something to society. That's what we fight for, that opportunity. And it's not Kamala's opportunity society. That's a phony buzz phrase she's come up with. But by opportunity, I mean if you make a commitment to do something for humanity, then you can participate in the advance of human civilization. That's what potential has been given to each of us by God. And it's up to us to develop it. And to develop it in other people who may need some help. And to other nations that may need some help. That's basically what the idea in the Bible, in all religions, but also the idea of the constitutional republic is. That you act for a higher good. So let's get to it. Let's use this Friday the 13th to engage in some real deliberation on how to beat the oligarchy. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you again on Monday. Hello, thanks for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of our videos. Support our independence to produce videos like these. Become a member of the LaRouche organization at thelarouche.org/member. By becoming a member for $25 or more, you'll get special access to the EIR Alert Daily Briefing and Weekly Magazine, which is what I read to stay on top of things.